All right, this is getting really interesting. The Samsung Galaxy S26 series is launching on February 25, 2026, and most of the phone is already out in the open. We know the models, we know the full specs, we even know about some cool features like privacy display. But there is still one big question left. Which chip is going inside your phone? And this is where things get spicy. Samsung is again doing that split strategy. In some regions like Europe, South Korea, and India, you might get the Galaxy S26 and S26 Plus with the new Exynos 2600 chip. But in other regions, especially for the Ultra model, you're getting the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. So naturally, the big question is Exynos finally good enough? Let's look at the numbers. According to leaked Geekbench 6 scores, the regular Galaxy S26 with the Exynos 2600 scored 3,197 in single-core and 11,112 in multi-core. Now, stop right there. Look at those multi-core numbers. 11,012 versus 11,237. That is very close. Like, really close. This means in tasks where the phone uses many cores at once, like gaming, video editing, heavy multitasking, the Exynos is almost matching Snapdragon. That is actually impressive. But in single core, Snapdragon is clearly ahead. 3,724 versus 3,197 is a noticeable gap. Why is that happening? It mainly comes down to clock speed. The Exynos 2600 has a prime core running at 3.80 GHz. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 has two prime cores running at 4.74 GHz. That is a big difference in speed. Think of it like two race cars. Snapdragon has two super fast cars. Exynos has one fast car, but not as fast. So in tasks that depend on raw speed from one core, like opening apps, certain games, or quick actions, Snapdragon will likely feel a bit faster. But here's what really matters. Are these numbers enough for real life? Honestly, yes. We're already at a point where even last year's flagship chips are super fast. So when both of these are scoring above 11,000 in multi-core, we're talking about serious power. The real difference might not be raw power, it might be things like heat and stability. Because here's the thing. Benchmarks are short tests. They show how fast the phone can run for a short burst. But what happens after 10 minutes of gaming? What happens when you're recording 4K video for a long time? That's where things like thermal management and throttling matter. Samsung reportedly delayed the Galaxy S26 launch to fine-tune the Exynos 2600. That tells me one thing. They know this chip needs to perform well. They cannot afford another Exynos is worse situation. And this Exynos 2600 is built on a 2-nanometer process. That's cutting edge. Smaller process usually means better efficiency and less heat. On paper, that's a very good sign. If Samsung has truly fixed heating and power efficiency, this could be the first time in years where Exynos doesn't feel like the worse version. Now, let's talk honestly. If you're getting the Snapdragon version, you're still getting the top performer. It has higher single-core power, it has those two very fast prime cores, it's likely going to win in peak performance. But if you're in Europe, India, or South Korea and you get the Exynos 2600, based on these scores, you're not getting a weak phone. You're getting something that is almost on par. And that's a big deal. Because in previous generations, the gap was much bigger. This time, it looks much tighter. Now, I'm personally very curious about real-world testing. How does it handle heavy games like Genshin Impact? How stable is performance after 20 minutes? Does it get too hot? Does battery drain faster? Those questions matter more than Geekbench numbers. Also, Samsung has optimized the Snapdragon version as 4 Galaxy, which usually means slightly tuned performance, so we might see even better results in final retail units. But again, the fact that Exynos is this close is something I did not expect. If Samsung really nailed this 2-nanometer chip, the whole Exynos versus Snapdragon debate might finally calm down. Or maybe it will explode even more once people start comparing side by side. And that's what makes this launch exciting. It's not just about cameras or design this time. It's about proving something. Samsung wants to prove that its in-house chip can stand next to Qualcomm's best and not feel second class. Right now, based on early benchmarks, it looks promising. Not perfect, but promising. Now, I want to know what you think. If you had the choice, would you pick the Snapdragon version no matter what, or are you ready to give Exynos another chance? Because this time, it might actually deserve one.